You're watching Goal.com's mid-season review, focusing on the biggest clubs in Europe. Up for discussion, PSG now. Pete, made some big signings in the summer, Ibrahimovic, Lavezzi, Thiago Silva. Have they performed to expectations? Has the team performed to expectations?
Well, it's always going to be difficult, Murray, when you bring in so many players at once. And I would say that the only player that's probably performed in line with expectations is Zlatan Ibrahimovic, who's been hugely proficient in front of goal in the Champions League and also in French Ligue 1. Thiago Silva, the big statement summer signing along with Zlatan, has played well. It took him a while to get into the swing of things after injury, but PSG are not defensively watertight. They're still a little bit off the pace where they'd expect to be in the league programme. They haven't run away with it as people expected them to do. But come the end of the season, they're going to be too strong, I think, for the rest of the French field, and they should win the league comfortably.
And the big test for PSG is probably going to be in the Champions League. They qualified from the group fairly easily, but they did lose their one big test against Porto. They'll be improving the squad in January. Lucas Moura is arriving from Brazil. It's a done deal. The Brazilian season's now finished. That's going to be a 40 million euro plus deal. And you wonder about PSG, have they got any regard, we're talking about Europe, have they got any regard for UEFA's financial fair play rules? Because it seems not. They're completely ignoring the rule book and they're throwing money at everything, the Qatari owners. But it also makes them very interesting. So they're working on some really big deals. So it'll be interesting, for example, to see if they sign Ashley Cole in the summer, because from January the 1st, it may not be done in January, it probably won't, but from January the 1st, they can talk to Ashley Cole and Patrice Evra, they're being linked with these kind of players, and that'll be extremely interesting. I think Ashley Cole will sign for PSG as well.
I think the danger a little bit is relying on one player. At the moment, Zlatan Ibrahimovic is scoring all their goals. But you can't just rely on one man to do that. You need everyone to chip in, whether that be your back players, your midfield players, your more creative players. You can't just rely on one man to get all your goals.
Yeah, the likes of Kevin Gamiero and Ezekiel Lavezzi, they're capable players, but they're really, the shadow of Zlatan Ibrahimovic looms large over the rest of the team, and also Ancelotti has alienated one of the fan favourites from bygone eras, and that's Nene. So obviously there's all these different components of the team that need to come together before PSG can be that European giant that the new Qatari owners want them to be.
And it's always going to take time when you sign so many new players, isn't it?
I think that's the key, actually. I think, with Ancelotti, there's a little bit of pressure on him. This is a man that's won a lot of titles and Champions League as well. And he's brought a lot of players in, he's brought his own players in. If they sack him, the new manager's going to want to do the same. They're going to want to try and bring in 5, 6 players of their own. It takes a little bit of time when you spent that much money as well. Man City had an awful lot of money. And it took them a little while to win trophies. So in my opinion, I think it's best if you give Ancelotti a little bit of time, because I think he's got the credentials, he's got the quality to bring them success in the future.
We look at the successful teams that have a certain amount of staying power, like Manchester United, who build squads. It seems that PSG just go after a big name and spend the money because they've got it. Does it actually work in terms of a long-term team ethic?
Well, I think it will get them so far. It will win them the league title in France. But whether it gets them to the next level in the Champions League remains to be seen. However, what they do have in the likes of Thiago Silva and Alex and Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and even Ancelotti himself, are people with huge experience in the Champions League, and they know how to win games at that level, and they know how to go deep in the tournaments. Perhaps they're not going to be, well, Ancelotti aside, who's won it, they're not the players who are, who know how to win finals, let's say, especially Zlatan, who's notoriously underperformed in the Champions League. But for me, I think Champions League, I think you're looking at quarter-finalists and perhaps even semi-finalists from Paris Saint-Germain. Just
on building teams, I was, it's a totally different level, but at Ipswich in the Championship, we were trying to get into the Premier League and we were knocking on the door. We reached the playoffs 4 years in a row, but each year we added maybe 1 or 2 players. We didn't, dismantle the squad because we didn't achieve success and bring in 5 or 6 new players each season. We kept the majority of the squad together and we kept going, and eventually we brought success by getting into the Premier League. And I think that's the case for PSG. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. It's something that they need to build on over the coming years.
They do want the big players, don't they, Greg? Ronaldo?
They want Ronaldo. I don't think they'll sign him, but they've got unlimited funds, a bit like Manchester City, and Ronaldo's made it clear that he's unhappy at Real Madrid. He's probably angling for a new contract, which he'll probably get, but that doesn't mean PSG aren't serious when they want him. They really do, and they'll pay 100 million euros for him, which would shatter the transfer record. It's not going to happen, but they'll go for him. They'll probably go for David Beckham as well.
OK. Pete, very last word on PSG and the manager, Ancelotti, future beyond this season?
I would think so. Obviously, they got rid of Antoine Kombare in winter last year. That was to make room for Ancelotti. But I think the big danger for Paris Saint-Germain is that they look to buy too many solutions. At some stage, they've got to look at the squad that they have and the manager that they have and say that, okay, this is the team that we're going to have going forward, and make the tweaks from there. But at this moment in time, I think Ancelotti and the squad they have, with Lucas Moura added to it, I think that would be more than enough to carry off this season's ambitions.
All right, with PSG, with a financial backing behind them, they're going to do some business, we think, in January. For all the latest news and analysis on who they bring in, who they don't, go to goal.com.